What is up, Internet? My name is John, and sitting next to me is my devilishly handsome co-host, Brad.
Hello.
And we are the Retro Hero Podcast. We're starting up. This is episode 1, The Phantom Menace. So
Yeah, hopefully this fares better than that did, though, to the audience.
yeah, this will be the Jar Jar Binks of our podcast, the very first episode.
Oh, Mr. Jar Jar Binks!
When they listen to us, when we get like 200 episodes in, they'll come back to this one and be like, those guys suck.
They'll hold it against us for all eternity.
But you got to start off somewhere. But we are a podcast, just two guys that love retro gaming, and it's something that we feel like as a culture in the video game culture right now, it's not as well represented. I mean, it's getting there, but we feel like we can bring a little different spin than what
I mean, we have a lot of good conversations when we're out at the bar, and we were just like, hey, man, we should fucking start recording this shit. So here we are.
Yeah.
And, hopefully we can bring some entertainment and those good, sexy opinions.
Sexy. Yeah, and, I mean, what we want to do is, like you said, we want to give a different spin on things, but we also want to do things like Let's Plays,
Yeah.
but not your typical Let's Play. We don't want to just be like, oh, hey, this is me playing Donkey Kong Country, and I really like this game, and it's really fun. It's made by Rareware, 1993. Good game.
Oh, man, you put me to sleep there for
I
a
know,
second,
yeah.
man.
So
Sorry.
we're not gonna be like that.
We got a really unique idea for our Let's Plays, and we can't wait to reveal it all. We're still kind of planning it out and working out the details, so once we get there, you'll be the first to know, I promise.
Yeah. And, if you want to get in contact with us, we have a Gmail, which definitely, if you have any suggestions other than go fuck yourself, we'll take them to heart. Or if you have any questions that want to be answered on the podcast, we want to be very, very audience friendly. We want to be in contact with our audience. Yeah. At least that's what I want to do. I'd love to get on a personal level with you guys.
Send nudes, please.
Send nudes. Unless you're a dude.
Well,
send nudes. It's cool. We don't discriminate. But our Gmail, anyways, you can get us at retroheropodcast@gmail.com. We also have a Twitter @TheRetroHero. And we have a Patreon if you want to shamefully or shamelessly give us money.
We're gonna need your help with this, and we have awesome ideas, and we think it'd be worth your time and money helping us out. So please give us money. We need it.
Geez.
Please.
Yeah, we're clearly shameless, so just give us money. But that's at patreon.com/retrohero. So that's one way you can, make our day a little bit better. If we make your day better.
We've got some cool, I'm still kind of ironing out the details on that, but we got some cool rewards and ideas for the Patreon. So once you're in, you'll get exclusive content, behind the scenes stuff, bloopers. We fuck up a lot, so there'll be lots of entertainment for you there.
Yeah, we did do a Donkey Kong Country play, actually, even though we were joking about that earlier, and something that we're going to upload here pretty soon.
Yep, yeah, we'll get that too. We just got to redo the audio on that one, so we'll get there. Yeah.
But yeah, Brad, I guess we should kind of talk about ourselves a little bit, introduce ourselves to our new audience. So why don't you kind of talk about your...
Prefer to be shrouded in mystery.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Why don't you talk about your kind of growing up in gaming as a gamer? Like, what defines you as a retro hero?
Well, gaming, where did it start for me? I gotta say, I can trace it back, the origins, to my father, who was a gamer. He's not anymore. Fucking doesn't play games anymore, but back in those days, man, he was into the Atari, NES, Super Nintendo.
Yeah. Doesn't that suck? Like, my dad was also a gamer. Yeah. Not a hardcore gamer, but he played games. And I would say, like, for me, to my recollection, was the last game that he really was into and played was Banjo-Kazooie.
Well, see, he got farther than my dad, because once they went 3D and you added the fucking extra buttons in the joystick, he just was like, nope, I need that 2D side-scroller. So, but yeah, I mean, my dad, Super Mario Bros. 3 is one of my... is a game I can really... remember being the first game I really fucking got into, man. I wanted to beat it. I wanted to get good at it. I wanted to memorize it, find all the secrets. That game...
Warp whistles?
Fuck no. Well, you gotta collect them, but you just keep them there for good looks in your inventory.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was the game that really kind of kicked it off for me, I think. And then eventually, we got the Super Nintendo and Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario World. All the classics, man. I mean, Link to the Past. I played Link to the Past, but my real love for Zelda didn't come around until Ocarina of Time, and honestly, I will say that game for me is like what made me fucking like love video games. I liked games, I liked playing them, but fucking when Ocarina of Time released, that game is what did it in for me, man. I can still remember one of my fondest memories is when you become an adult and like just that kind of cutscene where you wake up and you're like, oh, you've been asleep for 7 years. Fucking love that shit, man. I'll never forget playing through that for the first time.
I feel like a lot of people in our age group, Ocarina of Time was kind of the introduction to Zelda. Like, maybe we've heard of Zelda games, but
yeah, like
the 2D ones. I mean, it was the same way for me. I knew what Zelda games were, but I didn't really play them. But it was, Ocarina of Time blew up. If you were on the playground, kids were talking about Ocarina of Time. And just
back in those days when you actually had to talk to people about the
Yeah.
game you were playing.
Yeah,
I remember we would talk every morning before school and be like, oh, you're in the water temple. I can't fucking find this one key, and you'd fucking talk and figure it out. And
fuck you, Water Temple, by the way. Jesus,
Yeah,
it almost makes the game unplayable at that point. I'm serious.
Yeah.
I fucking hate that game at the Water Temple. I get to that point and I've quit playing.
Yeah, I like
even though now I know what to do. I have played up to the Water Temple and I've quit playing the game. I know that sounds like shit, but I've done it.
It's always that like one fucking key, because I like to play Ocarina of Time once a year, once every other year. Just it's my favorite game, so I play it a lot. I like to replay it, especially now that it's on the 3DS. I can take it anywhere and play it that way. I always get hung up on the Water Temple, man. There's always like that one key where I'm like, fuck, where was that shit? And like, I'm looking around, fucking raising and lowering the water level. I eventually find it.
I think Zelda games in general, the Water Temple always sucks. I hated it in Twilight Princess. I hated that temple.
Yeah, the Majora's Mask Water Temple is also pretty brutal with the changing of the water direction and shit.
Yeah, that's just... or even in A Link Between Worlds, you have to do... It's not as hard, but you're still doing the water levels, the leveling of it, and
that's
it's
how they
just...
get you.
That mechanic is just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Fuck you. Can we... The next Zelda... Well...
Breath of the Wild didn't have it.
Yeah,
thankfully. It did have a raising and lower... One of the shrines you raise and lower the water level, but...
Yeah. Mifas or whatever.
Or a couple of the shrines maybe, but, it's...
But even Mifas, there's, manipulation. Isn't there water manipulation? A little bit, I think. Yeah, there is. In the elephant.
Oh, you have to raise and lower the trunk to manipulate the water that way.
Yeah.
But as far as, like, raising and lowering the water level itself, I don't,
I hated most of the divine beasts in Breath of the Wild. I hated those kind of dungeons. Just the manipulation of the divine beasts.
Yeah.
That was just one mechanic I really hated.
You prefer a bunch of little puzzles versus one giant fucking puzzle that you have to solve.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
That was probably my least favorite aspect of Breath of the Wild, which, by the way, is an amazing game. Like, I don't want you to think like I hate this game.
It's a masterpiece.
It's one of the best games.
It's a fucking modern masterpiece.
But
ever. That's my biggest gripe with it. Is I do miss those core Zelda dungeons. I miss the fucking story-driven, or not even really story-driven, but just the more like themed dungeons from the previous games. But can't have everything. Maybe that's the next step, is taking that open world of Breath of the Wild and mixing it with more of a cohesive story, because the story wasn't the best point of that game. But anyway, we'll get back to Breath of the Wild later.
Yeah, what else were some games that defined you?
I played a lot of PC games when I was young too. A lot of Doom 2, fucking a lot of the shooters, Wolfenstein.
PC Master Race.
No, I never was like that, but I did. I had a friend whose dad was like a hardcore computer nerd back in the day, so we had StarCraft 1 land up, and
awesome.
So I do have a little bit of PC roots as well. Played a lot of Dark Age of Camelot back in the day. That was my MMO. Man, I had an MMO phase. I did. Yeah. I never really got into World of Warcraft, but I played Dark Age of Camelot for a good 4 or 5 years.
You're definitely the bigger nerd out of us two, for sure.
Oh,
for sure, dude.
Yeah, I'll take it. I'll wear that with pride. But yeah, RPGs. I would have to say RPGs are probably my favorite genre if I had to pick one.
For sure.
Japanese RPGs, obviously. I like Western RPGs as well. Fucking Morrowind, Oblivion, KOTOR, one of my favorite games of all time. But to me, it's just those classic Japanese role-playing games, man. I mean, Final Fantasy VII. That's the earliest one I played. I haven't played any of the old school ones, so.
Yeah. You need to play 6.
Yeah. I mean, Chrono Trigger, Persona 4, those kind of games are some of my favorites. Xenosaga. I wish they would fucking remaster that game.
One day,
yeah, we'll get there. But yeah, what about you, man? I mean, I know we kind of have some similar gaming histories, but I mean, you're a little more tied to the Super Nintendo than I was, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'll say it to this day, the Super Nintendo, I still don't think, even though there's been revolutionary things in gaming, what we're getting with graphics and everything, I still think to this day, like from a game library aspect,
yeah,
I don't think the Super Nintendo's ever been topped.
Yeah. And most of those games hold up the test of time, man.
For sure.
That art style, those sprites.
That's the good thing is like 8-bit can feel outdated for sure. But if you do 16-bit well, even though it obviously doesn't match up with the graphics today, but it doesn't look outdated. It can still...
You can still pop in Mario World right now and it still looks good, man.
That's a beautiful game.
Yeah.
Super Mario World is a beautiful game.
I feel like, the Super Nintendo is really... You know my Super Nintendo story, right? With my sister. I told you that before.
I do, but the audience doesn't.
Yeah, I got to kind of miss out on the Super Nintendo era.
Hopefully she doesn't listen to this.
I don't give a fuck. She knows I'm pissed off at her for it still. My sister back in those days in the 90s, she was a pretty hardcore drug addict in those days, and she would fucking find any way to get some drugs or make some money. So she got a hold of the Super Nintendo and pawned it. Maybe about 1.5 years, 2 years after we got it. So I had to live my Super Nintendo days vicariously through friends, unfortunately. So I did kind of miss out on a lot of those hardcore experiences. But you, man, go through your games. Where's your history start? Your dad?
Well, really, it was even though my dad played, it was really my brother.
Okay.
What I don't want to say memories because I was so little, and the only time I really got to see it was through old home movies. But there were home movies of me as a little young tyke watching my brother play the original Mario.
You need to find those.
I know. I should ask my mom and see if she
those
still has it. I hope she does. It would be hilarious.
Those are going on the YouTube, the Retro Hero YouTube.
Because you just knew. I knew from that moment. You see that little. I was basically a baby. I was a baby. You see that baby and he's entranced. Entranced is the word. Just looking, hypnotized at the TV, watching my older brother, who's 10 years older than me, play the original Mario. And from there I was hooked, and then I played. But I really feel like the Super Nintendo was when I was a little bit older and playing games and just really getting into it. Obviously, the Super Mario World would be...
Fuck yes.
That's... If you really want to talk about, like, oldest memory, like, that I can recollect, is Super Mario World, playing that.
I still love playing that game.
Oh, yeah.
To this day.
Yeah. And then my cousins had SNESs, too, so I would go over there, and they had different games, too. Yeah. So that was the cool thing. It was like, you go over to my house, we'll play Super Mario World, we'll play Street Fighter, we'll do that. But then I'd go over to their place, and they'd have, like, the Mega Man series, which... That is the one series I would say like really defines me as a gamer. I love the Mega Man series. It's to this day, anybody wants to fire it up and I will go. I love it, and especially the X series.
Okay.
Mega Man X 1, 2, and 3.
I know a lot of people will say Mega Man 2. I'm not a big Mega Man player myself, but people say Mega Man 2 is the best. What was your opinion?
No doubt. It's definitely a really it's one of the best in the series for sure.
But you like the X series.
I love the slide mechanic.
Okay.
That's a huge thing, and jumping on walls and being able to do that. It just adds to it. But the Mega Man 2 is probably one of the hardest in the series, but for good reason. Mega Man 4 introduced the charge. Mm-hmm. So even though it wasn't as good as, say, Mega Man 2, the charging of your X Buster is Oh man, when I first played Mega Man 4, that was just like, oh my god. So
Nice.
yeah, and the same with you as RPGs. I was a little bit older playing RPGs. It took me a while. I had to. Once you're like maybe 13, 14, 15.
Yeah.
That's really when I got into the RPGs.
You gotta have a certain amount of patience to play RPGs. Like my son's 12 right now, and he's not quite there yet. He's not quite there. He doesn't have the patience to really read through the text and get into those mechanics.
So yeah, I mean that once you're there, especially the JRPGs, I just Japanese games in general, where we agree on that.
Big Final Fantasy 6 or 3.
Well, yeah, however you want to call it. I call it 6 just because it is the sixth one.
Yeah.
But in the United States, they call it 3. So because we're special.
We are special.
We're special.
We're a special breed over here.
We're special.
America.
Yep. Just like they have to name everything different. Was like Harry Potter was like the original
the Philosopher's
Stone, but we have to call it Sorcerer's Stone because it wasn't magical enough of a title.
I don't fucking understand that shit.
That's America for you. Which, by the way, we're close to 4th of July here, so America.
Oh, yeah. Happy birthday, America! And today is Canada Day, so Canadian listeners.
What up, Canada? We
love hockey.
We love you. Oh yeah, we. Even though.
Thank you for giving us hockey.
Yeah, even though. I'm from Texas, so Texas isn't really known for hockey, but
definitely not.
You
there.
got me into it though. You got me into hockey, and now it's
you get hooked. Once you're hooked, you can't stop.
But
cool, man.
But yeah, so and then that's a lot of the stuff. Banjo-Kazooie, like what I mentioned, playing with my father.
Yeah.
The 3D collectathons that are some of my most fond memories too.
Oh yeah. Another early gaming memory of mine, or another moment where I just tripped out, was the first time in Mario 64 where you grab Bowser by the tail and you swing him around, dude. I remember just swinging him for like just 5 minutes straight and just be like, "This is fucking awesome." I mean, that memory, I'll always fucking remember that shit, man. It was cool.
I remember they had a setup. I want to say at the mall, where you could play.
Oh, yeah?
And this was before I got the N64 and just grabbing Bowser by the tail and just throwing him at the landmine. That was such a gratifying feeling. Still to this day, it's amazing.
He deserves it.
Yeah. But,
well, there you go. There's a little history.
Yeah, I mean, I think you get a little bit known on
We
us.
still do play modern games, and I've been a gamer my whole life, but we kind of like to focus on the roots of our gaming. From there, those are the roots. We have our favorite modern games, but you'll get to know those over time.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, why don't we kind of talk about our little aspect of the backlog?
Okay, yeah. So another segment on our show we want to get into, we're gonna call it the backlog. So basically, we're always talking that we'll bring up games where it's like, you haven't fucking played that. What's wrong with you? So we're gonna make each other play games that we haven't played, that the other person like kind of cherishes. So a good example is I've already made John play one, and it was Persona 4. He had never played it, and I always knew that he would fucking love that game. So I let him borrow my Vita with Persona 4, and he just blew through it. And what did you think about it?
Oh, I mean, now it's one of my all-time favorite games, and as I was playing it, when I got to play it, you let me borrow the Vita. I'm sitting here maybe just a few hours in, and I knew, I was like, how have I not played this game yet? Like, why did it take that long? Because it's now instantly one of my all-time. It's one of my all-time favorite games. Like, if I make a top 25 list, it's there. It's definitely there.
Hell yeah.
And I didn't know that until like a couple months ago.
I knew, man.
You knew before I even played.
I knew you'd love it.
But it's just, and after that, with the backlog of playing that, as soon as I beat that, I went out, bought Persona 5, and I blazed through that. Actually, Brad hasn't even beaten Persona 5 yet. I beat Persona 5 before you did, Brad.
Yeah,
so
you don't have two kids.
No, that's true. I do have the luxury of being single life.
I'm getting there though, man. I feel like I'm getting close to that game. End of that game. Yeah, man. So when I beat Persona 5, I gotta beat that game, y'all. That game it's always on my mind. I just have to get it out of the way before I start anything else. But once I do, I'm gonna start my first backlog game, which is gonna be Earthbound. I've never played it. It's one of John's favorite games. So it's kind of a crime in his eyes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to fucking play Earthbound, and I'll get started on that right here pretty soon after I beat Persona 5, and I will give updates on the podcast. That's kind of the goal here, is to play games that we haven't played before, and just give you guys updates, maybe do some Let's Plays or some live streams of those games. I've got a few games in mind for John. I know he has a few games in mind for me. But we'll save those for...
save them for later.
Save them for later. So yeah, that's going to be the backlog segment, and we know...
Can't believe you haven't played Earthbound, though. Mr. RPG himself has not played basically one of the best turn-based RPGs, in my opinion. It kind of revolutionized RPGs.
Well, like I said, I didn't have a Super Nintendo.
Yeah, so. True. I do have a funny story about Earthbound, though. And this was kind of us talking about being too young to play RPGs. I was probably in that 10 to 12 age area. And my mom took me to Blockbuster, which, by the way, if you're like a young kid and you don't know what Blockbuster is, Blockbuster was a place where you could rent movies.
It was a magical place in a magical time.
On Saturdays, your family would go. You'd probably rent 2 VHSs, which were ways to watch movies.
But you had to browse for 2 hours before you picked those VHSs.
Oh, definitely. And it was... I miss that. I really do miss that feeling of Blockbuster. I heard there's like talks about them possibly coming back, though. I don't know how successful that would be, but I saw this article that Blockbuster might be on the comeback, which that would be so crazy.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
But Blockbuster, those are some of my fondest memories. Like, my dad would go off and pick a movie, and I'd go straight to the game section, and those were the days where you'd have to fucking pick your game based on cover art and the description on the back. It wasn't like,
you could get
Google
screwed.
my reviews and shit. Yeah, you could pick bad games. We often did.
Oh,
it was a gamble, man. You're like, what the hell is this shit?
So, anyways, back to Earthbound, though, was at Blockbuster, they had this huge display. I mean, they were pimping out Earthbound. It was the coolest display ever. It was a big Starman, which is an enemy in Earthbound, and just all kinds of displays and just showing it. And I told him, I was like, get me Earthbound. I want this game. Didn't know anything about it. I want that game because that display was amazing. And like I said, I was too young to play these RPGs.
Yeah.
I hated it. I hated the game. I hated it. I'm pretty sure I might have even like cried to my mom and been like, please, can we like take this back and exchange it for another game? You know.
Of course you got what you wanted, right?
I think she did. My mom. Shout out to Mom. Thank you for that.
Thanks, Mom.
Thanks, Ma.
Thanks for putting up with our shit.
You the best, Ma. Yeah, so that was very embarrassing because I would like to go back and punch that 12-year-old kid and be like, do you not understand?
Me too. I would love to go back and punch that 12-year-old kid.
But
what's the first RPG then for you? Like, what's that first turn-based RPG that did it? For me, it was Pokemon.
Yeah.
Pokemon Blue.
Definitely.
Red and Blue. I mean, I had Blue personally, but...
It helped. Before Pokemon, though, for me... I think Pokemon really gave me the love for RPGs, which I think it did with a lot of people in our age group. But actually, Super Mario RPG, I own that on the Super Nintendo, and I love that. And the best part about it was I believe that Nintendo intentionally made it a little bit easier. But it's still a challenging game at points. But I think they made that game as an introduction to Westerners to RPGs and to get into them.
So while we're on the topic of the Super Nintendo era, why don't we get into the SNES Classic that Nintendo decided to drop on us this week? Good luck finding one, right?
Yeah, they're already sold out, and it's gone.
Yeah. Here's the new SNES Classic, and it's gone. Well, for those of you brave enough to fight the fucking crowds and all that shit, I mean, hopefully we can get our hands on one. What do you think? What do you think about it? $80, 2 controllers, 21 games?
21 games. Yep, 21 games, and the controller is the cord is going to be like 2 feet
2 more
longer.
feet. They gave us 2 feet.
So I think it's 5 feet long now.
So now your eyes won't burn as quickly as you stare at the TV.
Yeah. I think $80 is kind of a... I don't know what to think about that.
Well, let's
you
just
are
get
getting
this
21 games.
21 of the greatest.
Yeah, it's a very good list.
So yeah, I mean,
As a matter of fact, when I saw the list originally, because there was always when the NES Classic came out, there was as soon as it came out, everyone was talking about, well, what would you do for a SNES Classic?
Yeah.
And I thought about games in my mind, but when I saw this list, I was like, holy fuck, like, bravo,
they did
Nintendo,
good.
like, you really did a good list. We're gonna dissect it here in a little bit, but, like, bravo, Nintendo, you did actually a very good list.
Yeah, props. I mean, I thought it would all be like just a bunch of Nintendo stuff. Like you have the core Nintendo games, but I thought they would just throw a bunch of garbage on it, like Mario's missing or something. I think filler.
I think what surprised me more than anything though was the RPGs.
Yeah,
it really was.
I mean, you're missing Chrono Trigger, obviously, but I mean, you're getting what? You're getting Mario RPG, which we just talked about. You're getting
Secret of Mana,
Final Fantasy 3, Secret of Mana. I mean, you're getting a good selection of RPGs. Earthbound.
So you should actually buy the SNES Classic just so you can get, because a lot of these games I'm looking at are the ones that are gonna be on your backlog.
Yeah, I mean, if I can get one, I probably will. I mean, just the collector's aspect for me. I mean, I just like the idea of having a tiny Super Nintendo sitting on my fucking entertainment system stand. So yeah, I mean, the RPGs are good. I mean, we like the list. We think it's solid. I mean, it's hard to change anything, right? I mean,
yeah, but we could get a little nitpicky.
But yeah, we want to get a little nitpicky with it. So
well, first let's go through the list.
Okay, so here's the official 21 games that Nintendo are bundling with the Super Nintendo Classic. You got Contra 3, Alien Wars, Donkey Kong Country, Earthbound, Final Fantasy 3, F-Zero, Kirby Superstar, Kirby's Dream Course, Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past, Mega Man X, Secret of Mana, Star Fox 2, which is never before released, Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper Fighting Edition,
Sonic Boom,
Super Castlevania 4, Super Ghouls and Ghosts, Super Mario Kart, Super Mario RPG Legend of the Seven Stars, Super Mario World, Super
Don't
Metroid,
you love how they
Super
do that?
Punch Out, and Yoshi's Island.
It's such a Nintendo thing, because I don't think you really saw it with PlayStation or Xbox, but it was always with Super Nintendo, they had to throw Super in almost everything. And then the N64, it was always something 64.
Yeah, you gotta fucking. It was just about that branding, bro. Plant that seed in your mind.
One of my favorite things though was like a video game kind of making fun of that was Clay Fighters. It was 63 and like 1/8 or 63 and 1/4 or something, third. Just man,
that game. Those games were not the greatest, but I liked renting them just for the weird art style.
It was a parody. Yeah, the art style is actually really cool. I love that kind.
Snowman. Yeah, it was fucking badass. So those are the games. Really solid list. Really good variety. I mean, what are your favorites on here? What would you?
My favorites. I mean, I already mentioned Mega Man, so I was very, very fucking happy when I saw Mega Man X on that list.
Okay.
Final Fantasy 3 is my favorite Final Fantasy. Final Fantasy 6, however you want to call it. That's my favorite Final Fantasy. So when that was the biggest surprise was the RPGs like Secret of Mana, actual games with some depth to them, where you're gonna sink in a lot of hours playing these games, because I mean the NES Classic is kind of those games where you don't, I mean the NES wasn't that way in general anyways, but not a whole lot of hours sunk into a certain game. It's just games you pick up and go. So it's really cool to see like some RPGs in here that you're gonna sink a lot of hours in, or even Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. You're gonna put some good hours into those games. So
that's a monster game.
So even though I'm kind of hating on that $80 price tag, you are gonna get a lot of hours if you actually go in and play every single one of these games and beat them from start to end. You're gonna get a lot of hours.
It's like a museum, like a little museum in your your living room. I mean, it's an awesome list. I definitely love Donkey Kong Country. That's one of my all-time favorites. I'm glad that's on there. I mean, why wouldn't you put that on there? Super Mario World, obviously. Star Fox, it doesn't age the best, but it's a classic still. I mean, it launched a semi-classic series.
Yeah.
I mean, those are some of our favorite games. So...
But we want to get a little... But...
No, it's got to be our way around here,
But wait, there's more. we're gonna.
So it's a great list, but it's not perfect.
It's not.
It's not perfect.
So
and
Brad,
we're gonna perfect it.
Well, Brad, what would you
personally
do to perfect this list?
I mean, there's a few I would remove, and like we said earlier, it's tough.
It's like killing babies.
It's like killing your own children. It's
because this is a very good list, but we're gonna kill some babies here.
So the first one I would kill. Yeah. Not gonna go into the specifics of how I would kill it, but I might chop it up. I mean, so Super Punch Out. I like Punch Out in the NES, but I feel like that game is kind of it's not a classic to me. It's not like a fucking must-play Super Nintendo game, and
I agree with you. Actually, I don't know. I just never really got into the Punch Out series in general. I've played a lot of Super Punch Out when I was younger, but I
never did.
Maybe it's because I fucking sucked at it too. I'm not very
tough
good
games.
at
They're
Punch
tough
Out.
games.
Yeah, I'm not a good Punch Out player. I'll tell you that right now.
But to me, when I think of Punch Out, I think of Mike Tyson's Punch Out in the NES. That's what I think of. I don't think of Super Punch Out. And honestly,
yeah, Lil Mac got blonde hair in Super Punch Out. Do you know that? Like he's a blonde in there. It's kind of weird.
That's why it sucks. Was he like Aryan race?
Aryan
so,
Little Mac.
What I think the SNES Classic is missing is a good beat 'em up. So I would take off Punch Out and I would throw on Turtles in Time because it's one of the best games of all time. It's one of the best beat 'em ups of all time, and I think it would just round out the list a lot better. Personally, I mean, what do you think about Turtles in Time?
Yeah, when you see a lot of people that were kind of like nitpicking the list, Turtles in Time was close to the top of the list of the games that people wish, and I totally agree with you. You said it is, to me, it is the best beat 'em up of all time. It is, in my opinion. Yeah. You can crucify me or whatever. Maybe I haven't played it. What about Super Ninja? Or was it Super Ninja Baseball Batman?
So yeah,
or Ninja Baseball Batman. That's
here in Portland, Oregon, where we're from. The arcade scene is pretty strong, and there's a place we like to go to called Quarter World, and they have this arcade there that John introduced me to, and it is one of the best beat 'em ups I've ever played. You play as like these just ninjas with baseball bats, and
Ninja Baseball Batman.
It's fucking awesome. It's fucking awesome, and it's not brutal. I mean, it's hard, but it's not like you're fucking burning through quarters like every fucking 10 seconds like some of these other games out there. Anyway.
Yeah, I agree with you there on that. The beat 'em up genre isn't represented on this list, which sucks. Because there's actually a lot of good beat 'em ups on the
Sunset Riders would have been a good one. I debated over that.
Oh man, that was a tough one. Yeah, I would have really loved to see that on the list, but it doesn't have quite the
Turtles in Time I would put above it. So another game I would take off here, and I mean we don't need two Kirby games, right? So Kirby's Dream Course, you're fired. You're fired. You're off, and I would replace that with a game that maybe even better than the original would Donkey Kong Country 2. I think like if you're gonna have Donkey Kong Country on there, you need two. They're two peas in a pod. You can't have one without the other. 3 we don't need.
Fuck you, Kitty Kong.
But
we don't need that.
Donkey Kong Country 2 is better than 80% of that list, so I feel like it deserves a spot on there.
I mean, we've talked about it already. Donkey Kong Country 2 is the best out of the 3. I think most people would agree with that. But I think the reason why 1's on here and 2's not, I don't think they wanted to put both, because if you look through the list, they're not really repeating. I mean, maybe the closest to a repeat of like two similar games would be like Super Mario World and Yoshi's Island, but Yoshi's Island had a different mechanic to it, so you're Yoshi and you're keeping the baby. So that's probably the two closest. So I just don't think they wanted to repeat games or have a similar feel. And the point of the SNES Classic is there's going to be kids here playing. They've never played any of these 21 games, which is a damn shame, but this is going to introduce it to them. And if you put like only 2, or if you have 1, if you only put 2, there is kind of a missing part of the story. You don't have Donkey Kong first off. You're saving Donkey Kong and Donkey Kong Country 2. It's just Diddy Kong and Dixie Kong. But I think it's they're using this as an introduction. Yeah. And I think that's why it was omitted. But I agree with you 100%. Donkey Kong Country 2 is the better game.
And I would typically agree with you, but in that case where this game is is one of the Super Nintendo's best. I feel like it's a crime not to have it on there. You know what? Fucking fit another game on there, Nintendo. I know you can do it. Make it 22. So the third game I would remove, just because I didn't really have a huge tie to the series growing up, and they're fucking hard, is fucking Contra 3 Alien Wars. I know it's a good game, but I'm not a huge Contra fan. I would take it off, man. And what I would replace it with is Earthworm Jim. I feel like Earthworm Jim needs a place on this console.
Wow!
It's so unique. It's fucking hilarious. It has an amazing soundtrack. I think Earthworm Jim... Kids need to play that shit. Maybe it's just too 90s for them. I don't know. It's a very 90s game. The humor, the quirkiness, the characters. It's very stuck in that time.
I would love a new Earthworm Jim 2D game. Not 3D, but...
They remastered it for the PS3.
I'm talking about like new. I don't want a remaster. Yeah. I want a new Earthworm Jim
VR.
2D.
Earthworm Jim VR.
See cows in VR.
So yeah, I think Earthworm Jim, man, that's one of my all-time favorite Super Nintendo games, and fuck, I wish it was on there. That's a great game. That's the adjustments I would make. I mean,
I think
like we said, dude, this list is nearly perfect, but I just perfected it. So.
Yeah, if you really want, like, I know I'm about to shit on some stuff with my changes, but like I said, the only weak game I see on this list, the only truly weak game is Kirby's Dream Course. I don't really care for that. Yeah. There's people that had a lot of fun playing it. I don't think we need two Kirby games. Kirby Superstar to me is like the quintessential.
It's a great platform.
That's the quintessential Kirby game. Like, that was a great addition. But Dream Course, just don't care. It just doesn't do it for me. It doesn't move the needle for me. No. But from what I heard, there was part of the reason why Kirby's Dream Course actually is on this list. It may be hearsay, but the Game Grumps, supposedly, that was like one of their best Let's Plays or most popular. So they actually think to like cater to these kids watching the Game Grumps that they put Dream Course in there.
Cater to the kids, Nintendo.
Yeah. But not to your fans that have been with you for 20 plus years.
We got Metroid finally, okay? We got Metroid.
That 4? Oh man, that was the sexiest 4 I've ever seen in my life.
I got hyped.
Yeah. For sure.
But now we can just start bitching about F-Zero.
Yeah. F-Zero, jeez.
So yeah, what are your what 3 games would you fucking annihilate on that list?
Yeah, you kill them, but I'm going to wipe them off the face of the earth, and I know it's fucked up. I'm gonna ruffle some feathers here.
Ruffle my feather.
I am gonna ruffle some feathers here. But fuck you, Star Fox. 1 and 2. And I see, yes, I know, like Brad's shaking his head right now. But fuck you, Star Fox. Seriously, the game has not aged well. I don't care for it. Star Fox 64, awesome. One of my favorite games. Love Star Fox 64. But 1 and 2, I'm sorry, everybody's like freaking out about 2 right now because it's the first time it's been locally actually released. That's cool. I played it through emulation.
Calling the cops.
Oh man, don't lock me up. Well, it's not on my computer anymore. I deleted it, guys. It's legit. But it just doesn't move the needle for me. I don't care. The graphics, yeah, sorry. I don't want to bring up but I mean even the gameplay, it's not that fun to me. It's not. I'm sorry. It's just not.
John,
so I'm wiping off what?
You need to do a barrel roll. At least let Star Fox 1 be on the list, because even though the graphics haven't held up, it's still a fucking Nintendo classic.
No, I understand.
And it's called the SNES Classic.
That's true. But fuck it. It's my list. I'm killing. You already killed off Contra. You killed off freaking all these games. So I'm killing mine.
All right.
I'm killing them.
Fox McCloud will never forgive
2.
you.
Yeah.
You just kill Fox McCloud. You kill fucking Slippy Toad.
He's looking more and more like his father now because I killed him. That's why.
Oh.
So.
All right.
They're done. 1 and 2.
Okay.
Gone. Sorry. They're gone.
Okay.
And I'm going to replace them with some crazy games. I'm going to get a little weird here, okay?
Get weird, baby.
We're going to the land of the rising sun with these games. You want to talk about Star Fox 2 not being ever released until now? I'm going to do some games that probably will never be released in the United States, but I'm going to because this is my list, damn it, and this is my world. Trump runs this state. He's huge. If Trump can be president, I can change this list. So I'm going to throw in some weird games. There's this game called Umihara Kawase. It's a weird game. You play as a little Dora the Explorer girl. It's a physics-based game where you use your fishing rod as a grappling hook. Very fun, addicting game. And actually, the crazy thing is there's not a... Even though it was only released in Japan, at least this original one, there actually is some Umahara Kawase. Sayonara Umahara Kawase is on the Nintendo 3DS. So if you haven't played it, I actually downloaded it.
I have not.
It's really, it's fun. I might add that to your backlog, like, way down the line, though. But
Okay.
they did release that. That's, like, the last one. And it's just fun, addicting gameplay. It's physics. You're going up against crazy fish monsters.
Love
It's
fish
super
monsters.
Japanese. It's super Japanese, but it's very addicting. The soundtrack is very lighthearted. You'll find yourself humming the soundtrack as you're playing the game. So that would be the one I'd take out.
Okay.
I'd put that in for over Star Fox. And then now I'm going to go even more super Japanese and go with a game called Jikyu Oshibari Parodius, which is a Japanese parody of the Gradius series. And because we don't have that flyby shooter.
Yeah, we don't have a shoot 'em
and
up.
that's really what I would have liked to see. I mean, I understand. I mean, I guess maybe Star Fox is the closest, but guess what? Star Fox is gone on my list. So
Yeah, I would like to see a Gradius or an R-type
Yeah.
of game, and you just picked one that
yeah, I'm
I've
doing
never
that.
fucking
So
played.
it's super Japanese, super weird. You can play as like a baby ship flying around, and you're shooting penguins and all kinds of weird stuff.
Man.
It's if you haven't heard of Parodius, just look it up. Go to YouTube. Just watch any of the games. But my personal favorite, because there's a bunch even on the Super Nintendo. I want to say there's at least 3. But the Jikyu Oshibari Parodius, my Japanese is awesome, by the way, guys. So I probably butchered it, but that one is to me like the quintessential Parodius on the Super Nintendo.
All right.
So just look it up, kids. It's amazing. It's weird.
They've already looked it up. Their phones are already out.
Yeah. They're like
typing
John,
that
I already
shit
saw. Yeah. Fucking millennials. And then the last
in.
one.
Yeah, you are one too.
Technically, I guess, but I don't. No.
We don't identify with that.
No. But and then the last, and this one does hurt. And first off, I do want to say I realize why it's on the list, and I appreciate it. Secret of Mana. I'm gonna kill it.
Ooh.
I'm gonna kill it.
Man, you just pissed off a lot of fucking
Oh,
people.
I'm kind of pissing off myself. I mean, I just did both Star Foxes and Secret of Mana. I don't have any fans anymore. Like you're obviously the most popular.
I can hear the angry mob already
You're
forming.
You're the most popular on the Retro Hero podcast now, for sure. You've already won the audience.
I don't want
just
that
for
title. No.
Well, you did. But the reason why I'm gonna take it off, I'm gonna kill a very good RPG, and I'm gonna replace it with an even better one, and I'm putting Chrono Trigger.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, possibly the
best.
You could say that's the best game on the Super Nintendo. Some say it's the best RPG of all time.
It very
Like,
well,
at least from a
very well is
turn-based RPG for sure.
Yeah, it's surprising that that's not on there. I mean, it's fuck. When I think of Super Nintendo RPGs, Chrono Trigger comes to mind first. Honestly,
Definitely.
I mean, it's weird that's not on there, but maybe there's some weird fucking licensing issues or something. But it's
Well, the reason why I wanted to say, like, I understand why Secret of Mana is on the list is what I think about with the SNES Classic is they want to bring, like, the couch co-op back. And Secret of Mana is an RPG where once you get a little bit further down the line, you actually can co-op the game. So that's an awesome aspect of it. And that's why there's a lot of these games are co-op, which I think I applaud Nintendo for trying to bring couch co-op back, because that's something with us being the Retro Hero podcast. I think for me, I never really got into online gaming. I see the aspect of it, and this is me like showing out like, I don't want to change with the times, but to me, I just always loved sitting next to my opponent and playing them in the video game. I see their reaction. They're right there. It was like playing against my brother or my friends, my cousins.
It was kind of the arcade appeal, though. I feel like those roots of playing versus seeing the eyes of your enemy kind of thing, which I prefer too. And fuck, man, that's one of the best things about the Switch. Honestly, is we played more couch co-op or couch versus on the Switch than I have in a long time, man. A a long ass time.
Yeah, and that's just, to me, that's something that I felt like in the gaming world was kind of disappearing. So I'm glad I'm glad Nintendo is bringing it back.
So I could see that with Chrono Trigger. But okay, John, I got a question for you. Gun to your head, Chrono Trigger or Final Fantasy 3?
Oh man, did you really drop that bomb on me? That's fucked up, Brad. That's fucked up.
You took off an action RPG and replaced it with a turn-based RPG. So I mean, you know.
Oh, that's true.
If you had to go apples to apples,
but Legend of Zelda.
Which turn-based RPG would you remove off there? Would you take off Earthbound or would you take off Final Fantasy 3?
So okay, I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna do it. And it's not a popular opinion. It's not. I'm keeping Final Fantasy 3. Fuck you, Chrono Trigger. Like I'll kill Chrono Trigger for Final Fantasy 3/6. I will.
You're one of those types, aren't you?
Final Fantasy 6 is my favorite RPG of all
I haven't
time.
played it.
I know.
So I can't really make the comparison.
It's my favorite RPG of all time. And
damn.
Yeah, I said it.
Well,
so
you heard it here, folks. You heard it here first.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 3/6/
whatever the fuck you want to call it is my favorite RPG.
So that's
Persona, actually, man. That Persona series, though. Jesus
Persona
Christ.
4.
It's knocking on the door. It's like, hey, man, what's up? You forget about me? Like, shit.
Yeah, you can't forget about that shit.
Because, I mean, you can play all the Final Fantasy you want, but you can't hit on high school Japanese girls in Final Fantasy 6.
You definitely cannot. And you cannot go to work.
Yeah.
Can you go fucking to the convenience store and work?
No, and you have a cat telling you when you need to go to sleep.
Go sleep.
So, you don't get that in Final Fantasy.
Man, I really hate my hand being held in video games. Which brings us to the topic of our show.
Yes.
Show number 1, The Phantom Menace, is hand-holding in video games. We, being the Retro Hero podcast, we love to live in the golden era of gaming when your hand really wasn't held. So we got a problem with it, honestly. I mean, I understand games needing tutorials. Mm-hmm. I understand that games got more complicated. There's more buttons. There's more commands. Tutorials are necessary.
Too many buttons.
But yeah, we want to talk about hand-holding and how, John, how would you define hand-holding in a video game?
It's tough to say. I mean, because you can define it in many different ways.
Yeah.
But I just when a video game takes away the exploration or the finding out for yourself by leading you down the yellow brick road, but it's like, I want to stray from the yellow brick road.
Yeah.
But if you have something that's like, hey, go over there, you need to do this right now, do this. Like, I was gonna go down the yellow brick road. It was there in front of me. I don't need you to tell me. I see the path. I'm gonna go down there eventually, but let me fuck around with the game a little bit.
So you don't like a game treat like, fucking with your intelligence, making you feel like you're an idiot.
Yeah. Or an owl telling me how to do everything, and then when you're pressing A through it, and you want to hear them, and you have to hear it again.
Yeah.
And you rage. Yeah.
Would you like to hear what I said again?
Yeah. Fuck
so
you,
okay,
Nintendo,
so
on that.
hand-holding, we'll define it as a game leading you down a path that otherwise you could figure out for yourself.
That's one way.
Unnecessary tutorials, or tutorials that once you beat the game once, you have to play them through every fucking time you play the game, or tutorials that just are just too much. Like some tutorials are just too long, I don't know, man.
Or where they're even telling you what's going. You're already like 20 hours into the game, and they're still like being like, "Hey, remember, like during a loading screen, if you press A, you can jump."
Yeah.
Like, thanks. I've only logged 80 hours into this game.
Oh, I could jump? What?
Yeah.
So anyway, tutorials, fucking hints, shit that's like deep in the game and you're still getting hints or tutorials. Or games like Donkey Kong Country Returns, where if you die enough, the game eventually just gives you an invincible fucking Donkey Kong to get through the level with.
That is the worst. That is the worst handhold.
Yeah.
By far, the absolute worst. Like, I feel... Here we go. I'm going to get... Back in my day, video games, if you fucking died, you had to start at the very beginning. You had no fucking continues. you maybe had a password screen that was 80 characters long, and we didn't have this golden Mario where you can just be invincible because you died too many times to make the level easier.
The kids don't have the patience, right? Is that what it is now?
Well, they need to get the fucking
So
patience.
okay, I have a 12-year-old son who loves video games, but let's just face it, he's not good. He's not good.
He didn't get your video game genes.
He definitely did not. And this kid, he would play Donkey Kong Country Returns, and he would purposefully kill himself and like just walk off the cliff at the very beginning enough times to where he would get White Donkey Kong or whatever the fuck the Invincible Donkey Kong was, and then he would go through the level. And I was like, dude, it would drive me nuts, and it still does, man. It drives me insane. So that kind of shit, that kind of hand holding where it's like, but on the other end of the argument, I mean, you want kids to like your game.
But we went through it.
But it's more of like
through it.
It's more business now. It's more like how, they're not going to exclude the children now. I mean, I'm not defending that shit. I hate it, but
I mean,
from their standpoint, it's like, oh, kids have a Wii, they're going to have this game, and it's going to be hard. Why not give them a free pass through the level? I mean, what do you feel? I mean,
I hate it.
Because when we grew up,
it's the participation trophy in video games.
Kind of.
That's what it is. So if these kids, we'll bring it back to the SNES Classic. I can't wait to see some 12-year-old kid pick up Super Ghouls and Ghosts. I can't fucking wait. I want to see. I hate reaction videos on YouTube, but I would love to see like a father that's our age in their 30s. And just introducing their 10-year-old son to Super Ghouls and Ghosts. It's just like, you might as well just give your son the middle finger and tell him, fuck you. You ever think you're going to get anywhere in life, play Super Ghouls and Ghosts. You don't matter.
That game's a reality check.
It will destroy your soul. And so, I mean, it just sucks. I don't like the hand-holding, and I think what it is it's this younger generation. I don't want to say everybody, because there are some fucking badass kids playing games, and bravo to you. But I do think what it does is it's a trend now, and I don't like to see this become a trend, especially with Nintendo. We love Nintendo, but Nintendo definitely wants to cater to their younger audiences. But I just don't want to see that trend. I don't want to see it, and I think what it does is it makes lazy gamers or gamers that the grind.
Yeah.
Like, to me, part of that was some of the most accomplishments. The most accomplished you feel playing a game is when you are going through some tough as nails shit,
you finally
overcome it. And these kids that are getting the golden Mario, the silver platinum Donkey Kong, they're not accomplishing it. They're not accomplishing anything. They beat the level, but they didn't accomplish shit.
Yeah, man, it's like, I mean, but you have games also like Dark Souls and stuff that are that old school mentality where you figure it out yourself. You keep going at it until you eventually overcome it, and the reward is so great for doing that. A lot of rewards back in the day weren't that great. I mean, you beat Super Ghouls and Ghosts twice, and you just get a kiss, right? I mean,
yeah, it's one of the lamest endings to one of the hardest games ever. You put in all that effort, and that's it. Mega Man was pretty. Even though I love the series, Mega Man's very, very much like that too. You don't really get like a great ending with the Mega Man series.
So then it's more about just the personal satisfaction of I fucking beat that shit. You can go brag and tell people about it. But now it's like, I watch my son and he fucking purposefully dies so he can get golden or silver Donkey Kong, and I'm just it hurts me, man. It's like, dude, but it rubs off to the point now where he just. Okay, like, I fired up Breath of the Wild for him. He hadn't played it yet, so I fired it up and I sat back and I was
Which is the exact opposite of hand-holding. Opposite. That's why it's so great. Dude, Breath of the Wild does it cuts off your hand and then throws you in there. It's like, have fun.
Yeah, you don't have a hand to hold. But he couldn't even get off the Great Plateau, man. He couldn't even get out of that first zone without like getting stuck or just getting impatient. He has just no patience. I think that games, through that era of him growing up, didn't teach patience. They taught, if you don't get it, we'll help you beat the level. Don't worry about it. We got you. Whereas, with us growing up, it was like, if you didn't beat it, you just didn't beat it. You either
you
got
returned it to Blockbuster, or it was your
Yeah.
game and you were stuck with it.
you either got good, you had your friend beat it for you, or you fucking returned it. Like those were the three options back then. And now it's like, oh, you can't beat it, we'll do it for you. And he likes Skylanders, and I'll watch him play that shit, and it's just like, that game is so handholdy, man. There's no thinking whatsoever. It's like, go here and push this button to open the door through the entire game. I mean, it doesn't like set you loose at any point. It's just, the whole game holds your hands.
But I don't know. Isn't he a little too old for Skylanders?
Well,
I feel like
he doesn't really play them anymore. But when he was playing them a few years ago, it was.
It's like I feel like Skylanders was definitely for
for
that
kids,
5, 6, 7-year-old kid.
Yeah, and I can see that. But I guess they didn't really have that much when we were.
But even then, when I was 5, 6, 7,
I was figured it out.
Yeah,
we fucking figured it out. So I mean, the origins of handholding? We kind of looked back. We went through the history of gaming. The NES, the Super Nintendo Genesis kind of era. There wasn't much handholding to see. There was tutorials and it kind of maybe explained game mechanics. But as far as even like Zelda, which is one of the worst offenders of holding your hand, Link to the Past didn't. And it was the last one. And to me, the origins of handholding were Ocarina of Time. It's my fucking favorite game of all time. Don't get me wrong, but that game with Navi.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, Death Mountain's got fire over it. Did you not see that shit? Fucking 10 minutes later, and they just keep fucking drilling it into your brain that Death Mountain doesn't look right. And it's like, I want to go over here and find some shit first. Thanks, Navi, but back the fuck off.
Yeah, can I go around Hyrule Field and maybe collect some rupees or something?
Death Mountain looks weird. You better go over there. So I feel like that's kind of the origins. Was Navi, that companion character, the owl who fucking lands and's like, did you know this? You should go to Hyrule Castle.
And you know what's the worst part about that owl is you don't even really feel like he tells you anything worthwhile. I didn't feel like, I was thanks, owl.
He does, but he gives you hints that you don't need. Like when you come out of Kokiri Forest for the first time, he lands right there and he says, oh, the princess is over there. You should go check her out. You should go find her. It's like, I would have rather have just walked down to Hyrule Field and just...
And you see
the castle. I would have naturally got there eventually. So I feel like Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask... Now, Majora's Mask is a much more challenging game, I feel like. But it still had that companion character who would kind of remind you of certain things. And then we get into, eventually, Wind Waker, Twilight Princess, Skyward Sword, where every fucking time you pick up a blue rupee, it's like, hey... You got a blue rupee 40 hours into the game. They still tell you that shit, fucking Midna and all those companion characters. I mean, as much as I love Midna, I think she's the best companion character, but
she your waifu.
They hold your hand hard, man. Those companion characters, and that's why I love Breath of the Wild did away with that shit.
Went back to the Zelda 1, Zelda 2.
I feel like gaming is meant to, and I feel like that's how games are meant to be, and I feel like that sense of exploration and figuring it out for yourself is more rewarding than just beating a level, or just getting that assist to beat the level, like in Donkey Kong Country Returns, which is a brutal game. Don't get me wrong, but the fact that they give you that free pass, I don't know if Nintendo forced them to put it in there or what, but I'm glad that Nintendo is backing off the hand-holding. Even with Mario Odyssey, it looks like that's back to the sandbox Mario game, like 64 and Sunshine. Which I'm looking forward to now.
Hand holding in that, but we'll see.
I love that. So I think, to me personally, Ocarina of Time was that first game that really held my hand, and I hated it. Navi, she's fucking cult classic now, but still, she's fucking annoying.
Yeah, and you mentioned a lot of Zelda, and one that really, what really grinds my gears is A Link Between Worlds, where you could use Street Pass coins, like go walk and get those 10 Street Pass coins for hints in the game. So it was like, if you're stuck, just go, walk around the block, get some Street Pass coins. I think you only needed like 2 per hint.
I think it was like that in New Super Mario Bros. On the 3DS as well, where you could use Street Pass coins to purchase, hints or items in the game. But I feel like maybe Nintendo's getting away from that now.
I hope so. I mean, Breath of the Wild is awesome. It's great. Drop you off in the forest and just go.
So hard mode came out yesterday. I fired it up. I wanted to see what it was all about. I haven't played since I beat the game a month ago or so. And there's a fucking silver Lionel on the fucking Great Plateau.
Jeez.
It was like, what the fuck?
That's awesome.
So
man.
they're like, oh, you think it's going to be hard? No, it's really going to be fucking hard. Here's a fucking Lionel right off the bat. So honestly,
So you have to like run away from
pretty
it,
much
right?
in the early going, yeah. I mean, I don't care how many tree branches you have, you're not beating a Lionel.
No way.
At least I can't.
That's really awesome. I'm so glad to see Breath of the Wild like that. It's the anti-handholding.
Yeah, and
game,
I'm glad that's Nintendo doing it because they were the company for so
notorious,
long
yeah.
that would hold your hand the hardest, and I'm glad that they're kind of just respecting the gamer. Let them figure it out, man. That's the best.
And I hope now with all the crazy sales that Breath of the Wild has had, and it's probably gonna win Game of the Year. I hope Nintendo sees that and just realizes this is what people want.
I think so. Especially with Mario Odyssey, the way that looks, I think that they realize now that it's time to let go of that hand. Let our gamers figure it out for themselves. So yeah, I mean.
So do you know some like examples? We've kind of talked about the bad examples of hand holding, but there are some good examples, or at least maybe not necessarily. Let's not use the term hand holding, but are just good examples of games and how they put you where you need to be.
Yeah, for me, that's tough. I mean, games like Breath of the Wild, like we just discussed, like on the Great Plateau, when you go to those 4 opening shrines, every shrine serves as a tutorial of how to use your Sheikah Slate. It's like, oh, use your gravity this way, use this that way, and it doesn't so much make you read through a bunch of text prompts as where it just says, here's your tool, here's how you do it, go figure it out, which I like. And it's like games like Dark Souls do that as well, where they're like, this is how you dodge, and then you have to fucking dodge a boulder, and
Immediately
apply it, and that's the best tutorial in my opinion, or the best way to teach someone how to play a game is through the environment and through the gameplay versus just endless text prompts or just tutorial levels that you have to repeat every time you play the game. Tutorials should be optional, in my opinion. So yeah, another game for me, a more recent game that I really liked the intro in was Titanfall 2. I know a lot of shooters, especially Call of Duty and stuff, the tutorials are just like, pull RT to shoot the trigger, and it's like
R2 has always been the trigger button for like every game for the past like 10 years. We know.
What Titanfall 2 does is it puts its tutorial into an obstacle course kind of thing that you compete and get better times at, and it's tough and it's hard to master, but it teaches you how to play the game. It teaches you how to wall run, slide, fucking, do all that cool shit. So that's a more modern game that I think did a good job. Back to some more classic stuff like Metroid, Super Metroid. You get an item and
you learn it
right away, or it gives you subtle
get the
clue.
morph ball. They put you in a room where you need to use the morph ball. You get the missiles. They put you in a room where missiles are used. They don't tell you. They tell you, okay, you press X to whatever.
Yeah, they tell you a button to push.
Yeah, but they put you in the room. You figure it out yourself. You know that you need to use that item to get out. They do that in Metroid Prime as well, which is awesome.
So giving you the item you need, and then giving you a situation where you have to use it and figure it out. And that's the best way
That
to teach.
is the best way.
That's the best way to teach someone how to use it, how to master it. I mean, eventually you have to master it yourself. You still have to use the item long term and get good with it. Get good. But so some other games. Half-Life 2, another shooter, but another excellent intro and tutorial and way to teach you how to play the game. That game just, the story, the immersion, it just all kind of serves and interlinks. And the intro to that game is one of my favorites, man. Half-Life 2 is one of my, I don't know if you've played. I know you're not a big PC guy. But
I actually have not played the
I may have
Half-Life
to throw
series.
I may have to throw Half-Life 2 on your backlog, man, because that is a must play. So yeah, and in one kind of black and white or contrasting comparisons I want to make are Skyrim to Morrowind, the Elder Scrolls series, which is known for its open world, known for its do what you want type of mentality. But
which you would think,
when I compare Morrowind, which is the first Elder Scrolls game I really got into, you have a quest log and stuff, but it doesn't have like the quest markers like in Skyrim where it puts the marker right on the dungeon entrance. Like if you're trying to find a cave or a hideout, it tells you exactly where to go. Whereas in Morrowind, it would be more like go to this area. The entrance to the cave is in this area, and you kind of kind of where to go, but you'd have to look around and find it for yourself. and you'd have to actually read your text, your quest log, and all that shit, and figure it out. Whereas I feel like Skyrim, which I love Skyrim, it's a great immersive game, but
you have GPS.
But yeah, you have yeah,
you have GPS and
you've got fucking Tamriel GPS where it's like you can find any, or fast travel. I mean, which fast travel I don't hate, but the game you don't have to figure much out for yourself in that game. Yeah, you gotta figure out how to kill people, kill enemies, kill orcs and shit. But as far as finding stuff and exploring the world in Skyrim, I feel like it really holds your hand. It tells you exactly where to go and what to do,
but the good thing is you can stray.
You can, yes, and
but they're still telling you how to progress the story.
And that is the beauty of the Elder Scrolls series, is you can go do whatever the fuck you want. So the quest log doesn't even really matter. But when you do want to eventually do the quest, you're basically just going to point A to point B to point C to point D until you finish the quest. There's really not much figuring it out. And I feel like the Elder Scrolls series, which is one of my favorite, I think it would benefit from more of like a explore and figure it out on your
Breath
own.
of the Wild.
Kind of maybe
take example.
Go to taverns and ask questions and find out shit for yourself. Yeah, like Breath of the Wild, where it just gives you subtle hints of where to find shit. You talk to people and they're like, "Oh, find this armor in this area."
And that's the cool thing about it, is like a game like that, an open world game, which when we were both playing Breath of the Wild, it felt like we were back in elementary school on the playground being like, oh, when I did this and that, because we went different paths. Like, we did different divine beasts in a different order. I found certain shrines that you didn't know about, and you found some that I didn't know about, and it was just cool, like, having that conversation, because I felt like I didn't have that gaming conversation since 5th grade on the playground with my friends.
It's been a while.
And that was cool. It was cool, like, sharing our experiences together while we're playing. We didn't look at any fucking strategy.
Yeah, it wasn't like, oh, did you get to this point in the game, or this story point? It was more like, what did you find, what did you discover, versus like more linear or more guided game where it'd be like, did you get to this cutscene, or did you get to that point where we're discussing what armor we got, and we're like, I never even found that shit. I'm fucking 60 hours into the game. This
is insane.
It's beautiful. I love that shit.
Put in so many hours.
But I mean, linear games
don't know jack.
But linear games can also be too handholdy. I feel like one of my favorite games of all time is Dead Space. I love horror games. I love sci-fi horror. The Thing, Alien are some of my favorite movies of all time. So Dead Space was fucking amazing. But the fact that you could bust down this glowy blue line to wherever you needed to go and just follow it, it kind of took you out of the experience, because I feel like that's another one of those games that is better when you're just exploring and not knowing where you're going and stumbling your way through dark corridors. And horror games, I don't think should have any guidance, like those, especially that genre, because that's part of the scariness of it, is of what's around this corner. When I follow the blue line, there's some jump scares that pop out. I kind of know I'm going on the safe route. Whereas if that game was a little more just open-ended, I mean, it's a linear game, but just a little more open-ended, I think it would have benefited greatly from it. But don't get me wrong, I love that game, but it is a little hand-holdy as far as that GPS, that's another thing we're talking about. That fucking go this way.
It's and one of mine, I guess, if you want to talk about like kind of the survival horror type genres that has that as well, was one of my all-time favorite games is The Last of Us, which is probably if you hate that game, please send us an email at retroheropodcast@gmail.com, because I'd really like to find out why you fucking hate The Last of Us.
We got some choice words.
But the thing is you play the game. You play a game. I started on normal. I rarely will start a game on hard mode unless it's just something. So I just start on normal. It's awesome. But Joel has Spidey sense. He can sense when somebody's around the corner, around the wall.
He can hear through walls.
Yeah, he can hear through it, and he can see the silhouette of the people walking back and forth. And now, if you play hard mode, that goes away.
True.
But I shouldn't... And even though I used it, I did, because it was convenient.
It is.
It helps. I probably would have died a shitload more if I didn't use the Spidey
hand-holding.
But it's hand-holding.
When you boil it down.
So it's almost like hard mode was Naughty Dog probably intended the game to be hard mode, but somebody was like, "Hey man, can you like do this to make the game a little bit easier?"
I always feel like hard mode is usually the intended way to play the game. I mean, when I play
the
shooters,
director's cut.
when I play shooters, I usually play on hard because normal is usually too easy. But I mean, that brings the Spidey's Joel's fucking vision or whatever, the Spidey sense. That's a common trend in games, especially in the last generation. I feel like, with Assassin's Creed with the Eagle Vision, Arkham Knight with you had the Detective Vision. Every game had its own version of vision. Like in Tomb Raider, you had your fucking survival instinct. Every game has this like alternate vision where you can see secrets. Even Persona 5 has it when you're in the dungeons. You hit the left trigger, ooh, I can see treasure. Like, I feel like that's such a common thing in games now, and it's like, hopefully, even like Twilight Princess had it. Hopefully they're kind of scaling it back. I mean, I see it as a mechanic, but at the end of the day, we're discussing handholding here, and to me, that's handholding. If you can pull a trigger and learn secrets, is that not handholding? I mean,
to me, at least it's a form of it for sure. For sure.
And I'm not saying it's all bad. I'm not saying it's bad because some gamers, they need that. They want to be guided through it. And most games have, I mean, like Last of Us, you can turn it off. But I don't think in Assassin's Creed, I don't think you can go without Eagle Vision. I think
that's part of being an assassin. Yeah. You have Eagle Vision.
So it's like,
you're this awesome badass.
Like I said, I do see the point of this mechanic, but like I said, it's hand-holding. And like with Arkham games, I love those games too, but every time you get a new item or a new gadget, fucking Bruce Wayne or, Batman, it's like he talks about it.
Whoa. Batman's Bruce Wayne? Jesus Christ,
I hope I didn't spoil. Oh, I'm sorry, man. I was supposed to.
Fuck. Dude.
Yeah. Batman's Bruce Wayne. I'm sorry, dude. Sorry.
Jeez. My life is fucking ruined right now.
So,
but anyways, go on about Arkham and Bruce Wayne being Batman. Jesus.
So he fucking has to like, oh, I got this item. If I use it this way, this will happen. He kind of like talks about how to use it and. It's like, dude, I know how to fucking use a grappling hook, and it's that kind of, when it's almost like breaking the fourth wall. I don't want to say it's directly breaking the fourth wall, but in a way they're talking to you as a gamer, like, this is how you use this shit. And
there could be like maybe better ways, Maybe,
I don't know if better ways, but it's just
like maybe having like
maybe not so redundant.
Alfred kind of train you how to throw a batarang or something. Like maybe there's a training room in your Bat Mansion where Alfred could you train. That would be kind of cool.
I guess my problem with it is more of the redundancy of it and like when you're come on, man, I've played these games. I know how to play these games, and the game's like fucking teaching you fundamentals of just basic gaming.
Yeah, I mean,
every time you fire it up.
Do you feel like with some of this hand holding, it's almost kind of laughable in a way because the hand holding is almost in a way where they're treating it like this is the first video game you've ever played in your life.
Yeah, and especially
like seriously, it's like this is your first time ever playing a video game.
Yeah,
and you're playing, I don't know,
Call of Duty
or something. And it's just,
I mean, I don't know if the developers just have to assume that this could possibly be your first game you've ever played, so they have to put a tutorial in there treating you like it's the first game you've ever played, because there might be that one motherfucker that this is the first game they've ever played, but come on, man, make that shit optional. I think.
I don't want to be taught how to catch a Pokemon in every Pokemon game. Like, I'm sorry. Yeah, maybe if it's your first Pokemon game, sure. But I know you weaken the Pokemon and you throw a Pokeball at it. We all know this if you've played a Pokemon game. But
little Timmy, he's never played a Pokemon game before. They have to learn. So I understand, because Pokemon is kind of more geared at kids. But when I don't play Call of Duty, but when I did, it would be like pull R2 to shoot. It would just teach you every time the super fundamentals. Push left stick to move, right stick to look. Do you want it inverted? Yes, I play inverted, which is the true way to play.
It is.
Yeah, I just insulting intelligence and telling me how to play a game is just like, fuck, man. And the fact that when you play the game again, you have to sit through that shit again. They should make it optional, I think. Tutorials should be optional. Unless...
To a
degree. I mean, unless it's just tough to say, man, because some games, some RPGs or action games have so much controls, so much complicated controls that it's you do need something, a prompt or something to tell you how to, like, what buttons do what in the reaction in the world. But to me, it's when you're 40 hours deep and you're still learning it's a blue rupee.
Yeah, like, a blue rupee is 5 rupees, and you just found one. Yay!
So I mean, that's the handholding I don't like. I do understand the need for tutorials, and some handholding in some games is necessary, but it's when it goes on for too long, when it insults your intelligence, or when it lets you have a free pass through a level. That's when we have a problem with it. That's when the retro hero has to step in.
So basically, too long didn't read version. Just look at Breath of the Wild
and compare it to Skyward Sword, and then you can get an idea of hand-holding to the fucking max almost, and no hand-holding whatsoever. I feel like those two games are a great contrast to each other. Still in the same series, yet completely different.
Completely fucking different. Not even close, so.
Fuck, man. Yeah, so that's kind of our thoughts on hand-holding. I mean, did you have any extra bits you want to throw in there? What are some games that you feel like hold your hand too much?
Dude, man, I mean, I feel like you really nailed it on a lot of it, but it's just... That's what it is. I just don't want that. I want that to kind of go away.
Do you think it should be optional in games, as to where like there's maybe easy mode has all the tutorials and normal and hard and above are less handholdy? Because I mean,
some games do that, which is awesome.
Yeah, Last of Us.
But it's something, like I said. I just feel like the generation now, they just got it so easy, and I just feel like it's making them into lazier gamers.
Yeah, I do.
I've
seen that firsthand.
You just don't have that, like we said, the accomplishment, the work, the grind of gaming that I think we had to go through. We had to go through it.
But when you want to bring gaming to the masses and to the kids, you got to make it easy and more accessible,
But we were kids, and we were playing those games, and we grinded it out, and we're still here with our battle scars
we lived.
Gaming.
We lived, and we have the stories to tell.
It's just, I don't know. I hate that I feel like it is the participation award. Gamer is what I'm gonna call it. Is the participant? Yeah, just it's. I don't like it. I just.
On the plus side of all that, I feel like we've had a resurgence of these kind of throwback old school games, kind of like Shovel Knight.
Oh yeah, I love it.
Fez, Super Meat Boy, a lot of these kind of throwback brutal platforming games.
Yeah, the indie developers, they're getting it. They're getting it.
But I feel like those are people like us about our age who grew up playing these hard games.
It's their love song to the games of the past.
Your art mimics what inspires you. So if you were inspired by Super Metroid and fucking Mega Man and Castlevania and all these games growing up here, and now they're making these games like what they grew up with, and I love it, man. I love that the fact that even though there are a lot of hand-holdy games, there's still like these hardcore indies out there that we can play. Like right now, I'm replaying Shovel Knight on my Switch, and that game is brutal, man. But I fucking love it.
We're gonna do a stream or a let's play of that for sure. We're gonna do some co-op of that. So just stay
I haven't touched the co-op
that.
yet, but yeah, that game is. I feel like Shovel Knight's that perfect blend of toughness, rewarding. Dude, I've got so frustrated with that game sometimes, but I'm like, I just gotta keep.
But you know what? When you die in Shovel Knight, it's your fault.
Yeah, it's your fault.
You don't feel like you got gypped. You don't feel like anything like that.
And I think that's another thing, man. That's another just brilliant piece of game design is when you can make me feel like I died on my own and not some cheap mechanic or some shit like that. And that Shovel Knight does that beautifully, man. That game is just it's so good. I can replay that thing over and over again.
We will. We will.
And
we will. So, I mean, I feel like we really broke down handholding. I mean, that's like what we think in a nutshell. So, if, like we said, we've already pimped out our Gmail, but
email us your thoughts on
retroheropodcast@gmail.com. Let us know if are there any mechanics that you see that are totally hand-holding in gaming? We'd like to hear. We'll read it on our podcast. Or
next podcast we'll read out some of your choices. What grinds your gears? We want to know.
Any suggestions at all, other than go fuck yourself, we will take it to heart. We'll listen to it. So we really appreciate it. I feel like that really wraps up episode 1, The Phantom Menace.
Fuck yeah. Jar Jar Binks still lives for now.
Thank you for listening. If you listen this long, that's awesome. We appreciate you. We love you. We love the internet.
Yes,
the series of tubes. We love you guys. We really appreciate it. Like I said, if you want to contact us on Twitter, we just started up. We're in the bare bones, but we're gonna get there. Just be patient with us. Twitter is at the Retro Hero, and then we have our Patreon. Give us money, please. Give us money so we don't have to work our normal jobs.
Save us from our fucking wage slave jobs that we have to drone through every week.
Even if you donate $1. We love you. We love you long time.
We've got many levels for the Patreon. $1, man. $1. $1, man. That will help us. If
every little bit goes a long way. And we're not $5 sucky. It's just $1 and we're happy. So
we're cheap.
Appreciate it. So, but cheap. Yeah, our Patreon is patreon.com/retrohero. And that's how you can give us monies. Give us monies.
We got the YouTube up, we got the Twitch, we're gonna have it all. We're gonna have every fucking way to get to your ears and your eyes. So you can't unsee us.
We have some stuff planned where we want to do some of our YouTube videos, and we're gonna do it with a twist. It's gonna be we feel like there's nothing like this on the internet.
You're not gonna get your standard YouTube vlogger here.
Yeah, we're gonna change it up. We want to hopefully entertain you. We hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you're still here,
I'm surprised. Yeah, why are you still
surprised? But yeah,
you have games to go play. You have video games that you should be playing right now. I know I do.
Go play. If you look at that SNES Classic list and you haven't played any of those games, go play them right now. Just find a way. Go to your, retro pawn shop or whatever, or any retro gaming. I mean, we're lucky because we're in Portland, so there is a retro.
Or just emulate. I mean, I didn't say that.
Did you just say emulate?
No.
Anyways,
I never said that.
Thank you so much for listening, guys. Y'all take care. We'll get you on episode 2, Clone Wars.
Later.